Number one, it looks like we're going to push back with elections, right? So they're going to try and undo the elections or, rig the elections in advance by throwing people off voting rolls. Number one. Now, the other attack that the Trump administration is suffering loudly is the federal courts. Federal courts are taking him down. I mean, he has lost something like 43 out of 40 cases so far. So here's Mike Johnson, friendly little Mike, the Christian nationalist, white supremacist. He says, we do have the authority over the federal courts. As you know, we can eliminate an entire district court. We have power of funding over the courts and all these other things. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. Yeah, right. And then Jim Jordan, he wants to hold a hearing focused on Judge Boasberg and other district judges next week. He wants to put these judges in the crosshairs, put them up on TV, get them harassed, get their families threatened, get them getting death threats. Well, we had the one judge who Republicans went after, and some crazy went to her house, and her son opened the door, and he got shot in the face. He's dead. I mean, that's the kind of threat that these Republicans are trying to promote against federal judges. Johnson says next week they're going to vote on a bill from Representative Darrell Issa that would bar district court judges from issuing nationwide injunctions. Well, that's a topic that we could have a conversation about, but the bottom line here is that Trump is basically tearing apart the Republican parts of our democracy, of our country. By Republican, I mean the stuff that makes us a republic. The rule of law, the court system, the separation of powers between three co-equal branches of government. These are the things that Jefferson and Madison and Hamilton and Franklin and Washington referred to as Republican values, small r, and they're being destroyed. Officials who served under President Joe Biden have told the Washington Post that these are people who Trump is now going after, now investigating and prosecuting. They're telling the Washington Post they can't find a lawyer. They had big law firms who were willing to defend them. Those big law firms are now terrified of the Trump administration. This is how fascism works. Fascism is all about authoritarianism. It's all about threatening your enemies. It's all about threatening people with consequences that are, outrageous. I mean, you would think in America that you're entitled to legal protection. But no, Donald Trump is trying to make it that if you are on the other side, if you are a Democrat, if you are somebody that Donald Trump views as an enemy, that you can't even get a damn lawyer. It's scary, said a former Biden official who needed a lawyer after getting drawn into Trump-era litigation. And the attorney they'd lined up from a major law firm dropped him as a client after this executive order attacking that firm. He said 5 other firms declined his case, citing conflicts of interest, but the former official said individual attorneys were not happy with the decisions. Scott Cummings, who's a law professor at the UCLA School of Law, said this is the autocratic legal idea of claiming a democratic mandate to attack the rule of law by using law to really erode institutional pillars that are supposed to check executive power. And he notes that this kind of a campaign against lawyers is virtually identical to what Vladimir Putin first did in Russia in the late 1990s, what Viktor Orban did in Hungary in the early 19-teens, and what is happening right now in Turkey under Erdogan. The exact same thing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has gone to war on immigrant children. Have you ever heard of the Unaccompanied Children Program, the UCP? This was something that George W. Bush started because there were families who were bringing their children to the southern border to escape, and in some cases children themselves coming to the southern border, some as young as 10 or 12 years old, to escape gangs, to escape rape, to escape murder, to escape being dragged into gangs and things like that. And so you've got all these unaccompanied minors. I mean, literally tens of thousands of them showing up at the U.S. southern border. And under our law, there is no requirement that they be provided legal counsel. So George W. Bush started this program, the Unaccompanied Children Program, the UCP, that through the administration funded civil rights attorneys or immigration rights attorneys for these children so that they can apply for asylum and all that sort of thing. By the way, they've just found that at least 2 of the people that Trump deported to El Salvador were Venezuelans who had been approved for refugee status in the United States. In other words, they were in the United States legally. and now they're in this hellhole prison. So anyhow, these kids coming here, well, unlike criminal court, people in immigration proceedings are not guaranteed a court-appointed attorney, and like I said, George W. Bush put this thing into place. Trump just killed it. In doing so, he cut off 26,000 vulnerable children from legal counsel. This will force thousands of children, some too young to read or write, to represent themselves alone in court before an immigration judge and against a trained government lawyer. These people are heartless. I mean, brutality is their game.